we are live on Facebook. Let me turn on the recording. So we'll record the session. Okay, so I have turned on the recording as well. So Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today for this free webinar. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Samir Iqbal here with us to talk about the STEM careers. He's going to talk about what are the emerging STEM careers, what majors lead to those careers, what are the top research ideas or areas for the next decade, and how can students get into research. This talk will be hopefully a very good talk, very helpful talk for the high school and college students. They will learn how to avail themselves of these opportunities that are coming up in next decade or so. This talk is a result of collaboration between STEM Matters and the Young Professional Society. STEM Matters is an organization here based off of Dallas, Texas. Dr. Samir is one of the co-founders of this organization. Our vision is to enable students to innovate, invent, and deliver quality solutions to contemporary challenges. And our mission is to inspire students to excel in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and environment matters by nurturing their critical and analytical thinking skills. And our objectives are to nurture highly functioning teams to work together and create scientifically sound, innovative solutions to the world's complex problems. Another one of our objectives is to create a community of young innovators trained in problem-solving skills. We want our youth to develop high-level scientific programs to provide an international forum for scientific
Can you turn your video on, please?
Sure. Sorry about that. So our mission is to develop high-level scientific programs to provide an international forum for scientific contact, to learn, collaborate, and compete for meritorious outcomes. Empower students with the skill sets, for example, research, programming, and leadership, to make them competitive in the higher ed and marketplace, and involve underprivileged youth in science, technology, engineering, and environment matters. Our sister organization, based off of UK, Young Professional Society, their mission is to set up an organization to help support and change the lives of youth by providing personal and professional development opportunities. It aims to bring to the forefront a more progressive, accomplished, and enlightened young generation of people who will be the representatives and leaders of their communities and who will contribute positively towards a wider society. So this talk, this free webinar, is hosted by both STEM Matters and Young Professional Society, along with Msit. So I would like Brother Fan to share information about Msit and introduce our beloved speaker, Dr. Samir Iqbal.
Sure. Thank you, Brother Shakil. So my name is Affan Badar, and I'm going to introduce to you Msit, which is the short form of Association of Muslim Scientists, Engineers, and Technology Professionals. So we have started this webinar series since August, and we are fortunate to have Dr. Samir Iqbal from STEM Matters and Young Professional Society to join us as a speaker. So we are on the website, and our website address is there, msitweb.net. Online, you can look for more information about Msit, and we also have a LinkedIn group, and there's a Yahoo group, a Google group, sorry. And also Brother Shakil has helped us to have a Facebook. And so we are available on Facebook, Google group, and LinkedIn, and online. So next slide, please. Right. So basically, as an organization, we are registered as a 501c3, which is not non-for-profit, and we are registered in Indiana. And our executive committee, our president is Dr. Suhail Anwar. He is a faculty member at Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis, so in mechanical engineering department. Our vice president is Dr. Tahir Saif. and he's a faculty at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Our secretary is Brother Rashid Rabbi, and he is based in Virginia, but basically is the DC area. He's in IT field, and I'm the past president. So I'm a faculty at Indiana State University. So our web page and other IT things is maintained by Rashid Rabbi, and career fair and other things, Brother Muhammad Asad is in charge for that. Okay, so basically our aims and purpose are these, like, and that's where we are in line with MSET also to some extent, but mainly we are about here to collect to gather the talents of Muslim scientists, engineers, and technology professionals towards providing guidance to Muslims, in Muslim individuals and communities on various aspects of their activities. Like whatever scientific thing we do, we have to look at the religious side, that what are the ethical component and Islamic side of those issues that we can deal with. Then to provide guidance and his assistance to, again, Muslim scientists, engineers, and technology professionals, as well as students in their education and career. And that's what this topic is about today. Like we're going to talk about AIMSET careers for high school and college students. So that's another objective for us, to guide Muslim scientists and as well as Muslim students, to enhance networking among professionals and businesses with common interest, to improve the distribution and dissemination of technical information and Islamic knowledge. So next slide. Yeah. So then we also have to, as I mentioned, that we have to provide Islamic platform where Islamic scholars, the religious scholars, they may give us the religious rulings, but as a Muslim scientists, engineers, and technology professionals, we have to give them that platform so that they can come and learn about the science, and we have to learn from there about the Islamic perspective, so that we can have ethical implications of all these technological developments, to promote a responsible use of science and technology in public policy, to like in the government, or like whether it's at a state level or federal level, we have to promote what is the responsible use of science and technology and ethical use as well. And then to carry out any other activities like educational, scientific, religious, other things. To again, one of the things could be for Islamic schools to have a competition related to science and technology, but in terms of ethical and religious sphere. So we can talk about those things, and Masajid, Islamic centers. So this is one of the topic, like today we are talking about the STEM matters for high school and college students. That's also can be in the same category, kind of. Okay. So, and some of the burning issues that we, Brother Samir, he will talk about more, but like genetic manipulation, technological applications in medicine, and he will also talk about COVID-19 things. So for any technology, any advancement we have, sometimes there are some risks or bad effects of those technology also. So then we have to talk about, okay, what is the ethical and what is beyond the ethical limit, and where our Islamic teaching will stop us to go to that extent. But at the same time, whatever is the good use that we have to use in our life to improve the life of the humanity. Climate change, human evolution, artificial intelligence, and Brother Samir is also again expert in artificial intelligence, and he has his field in bioengineering. So he has used technology again to benefit the society, to improve the quality of life. So all these are other issues, ethical issues that can come under MSET. So basically, we can go to the next slide. I'm done with the objectives of the MSET. Next slide, please, again. So if you want to become a member of MSIT on the website, we have this application, and any Muslim citizen or resident of North America who has a 3-year kind of post-high school education, or somebody is working as a professional in the science or technology field, they can become a member of MSIT, and they have to pay a fee of $30. So online they can fill out the form. And those people who are member of ISNA, If you just click the box that you want to become also a member of Msit, you get free membership for 1 year for Msit as well. So that's it. I will stop here, and thank you for listening. And now I will introduce our speaker, Dr. Samir Iqbal. So he's going to talk about the STEM careers. So Dr. Samir Iqbal is a professor and chair of the Electrical Engineering Department at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, UTRGV, that's the abbreviation, and that is located in Texas, USA. He also holds a faculty appointment in the UTRGV School of Medicine. Dr. Iqbal is a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry and a senior member of IEEE. He has been distinguished lecturer for IEEE EMBS since 2016. He is also 2018 distinguished lecturer for the IEEE Nanotechnology Council. Dr. Iqbal has published extensively in the areas of nano-bio interfaces at genes, proteins, and cellular levels, lab on a chip, cancer diagnostics using nanotechnology, applications of nanotextured materials in biosensing, and nanoscale devices for single molecule interrogation identification. He has also led work on developing high-speed imaging approaches and novel algorithm for single-cell analysis in real time. Before joining UTRGV, Dr. Iqbal served at the University of Texas at Arlington. He joined, and this is like UTA, so he joined UTA Electrical Engineering Department in 2007 as an assistant professor and later promoted to associate professor. He also held an adjunct position in the Department of Urology at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center at Dallas. Dr. Iqbal had a courtesy appointment in the Bioengineering Department as well and directed their GAN fellowships program, which was funded by the US Department of Education. He has also received a number of awards and honors for excellence in research and teaching. And he's also a US Air Force faculty fellow. Dr. Iqbal received his bachelor's in electrical engineering from NED University of Engineering and Technology, Karachi, Pakistan, and earned his PhD from Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana, US. So that's a brief introduction of Dr. Samir Iqbal. And now I will hand microphone to Dr. Samir for his talk on STEM careers for high school and college students. Welcome, Dr. Samir.
Thank you, Dr. Badar. Really appreciate this opportunity to collaborate with you and to talk about what may be some opportunities for our kids, especially. We all came to Western countries as immigrants, whether it was US or UK, whether our parents came. And now we have opportunities in this country, especially for our kids, that they can do much more than what we did. But of course, if you look back, we all had some mentors, some role models that helped us take big steps and move on to do amazing things. So that's something we all want to provide to our kids as well today. So STEM Matters in Young Professional Society, we exactly want to do that. Under STEM Matters, we have done few things already. In summer, we had a course which was focused on STEM innovation. We did in fall also, and just in fall, we have 2 teams who are competing in international competitions. We already have plans for spring programs. So if parents are here, if you know somebody have young kids, this is the link to register for the upcoming info session. In addition to that, there are multiple channels how we are accessible. You can subscribe our channel on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. You can take screenshot. I'll share this screen later as well. Now, why we do this? So the simple reason is that we are at a situation where we have achieved, one generation has achieved much more than their peers. But now next generation is competing, not even competing, they don't know where to go. What are the careers which are now and what are the careers which are coming up? This is where I feel we have to have a kind of a collaboration. We have to sit together have some heart-to-heart discussion and share what are the emerging areas that are coming up. I myself come from Pakistan, Gujranwala, a town which is overpopulated. We are famous for eating and fighting. Wrestlers of Gujranwala, and they wherever I go, they joke about how much we eat and how overweight we are. But that city has its own opportunities, its own good things that led me to explore, that gave me good schooling, good college. I myself had opportunity to serve in military as well for a few years. So this is me in last century. You know, it's been just 20 years last century when. So if you think about it, my first exposure ever was to play a video game, Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia, if some of you are old enough, or maybe they have a revival of Prince of Persia, was a game that you would play with a keyboard. We didn't even have mouse at that time. But that's the kind of exposure which we're going to talk about today as well, that we start from somewhere and what do we make of it. I was a submariner, but then in 2001, I came to States. I came to States for Masters in Computer Science, came to Michigan. Dr. Badar is in Indiana, and the good news, I moved to Indiana very early to do my PhD in electrical and computer engineering. So ECE from Purdue University. Purdue University, if you may know, it's a very prestigious school. It's always in top 5, plus minus, it goes up and down. But that's one school where there are lots of interesting things were happening. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I was if you look at this picture, the top left, this was me doing my PhD as an engineer. I was doing lots of biotech. And this is what we'll talk about again as well, that what are the opportunities in biotech. Since then, I finished my PhD. I've had opportunity to meet some very fantastic people. I've met a bunch of Nobel laureates. So here are a few pictures of Nobel laureates that I had opportunity to meet with. And thanks to Young Professionals Society, Dr. Ali also, and we were together, he would invite these fantastic people, Nobel laureates, to some of the events that we hosted together, or we were part of it together. But that's the journey, that's the path. We take certain steps. For example, when I came to Purdue, I didn't know any programming, but I learned programming. And I was then teaching software engineering for many years as a graduate student myself. I taught all the way from shell programming in Linux to Python, which is hot today nowadays. And then at some stage, I thought that what is special at Purdue that I can do that I cannot do anywhere else? And that was doing solid-state devices, device physics, and application in biomedical engineering. So that's something which was unique at that place. Something apart from that, Purdue has been on forefront of many, many, many new things. Of course, we all know Neil Armstrong. He was a graduate of Purdue also. So they have a very strong program in aerospace and avionics there. They had first program of biomedical engineering in the world, if not in USA, that brought engineers and biomedical people together. So teaching, I got lots of things that I got out of it. And that's my pep talk. That's my word of inspiration to the students, that if you get into good school, get into an emerging technology field, you get lots of recognition. For me, starting from graduate school, this is a picture where I was a teaching assistant. I got an award. The right picture is giving a talk in a beautiful place in Turkey called Gümüşhane. You wouldn't even have heard that place, right? But that's the kind of opportunities you get. This right lower picture is from a newspaper in India, where I was invited to give a workshop for 3 weeks. Amazing experiences. If you do good work, if you are working in emerging technology area, you get to see the world. You go around the world. I have taken all these pictures myself. Venice, Hawaii, Greece, Corfu, Italy, Trieste, Bangladesh, Dhaka, UK, of course, we have YPS sharing with us. So you go to see the world if you are working in emerging areas, if you work at the cutting edge of technology, at the forefront of STEM areas. But how do we go from where we are, maybe in classroom, maybe parents who are worried about their kids, to going to top-notch school like MIT, Oxford? There are certain way how we do it. But is it rocket science? Maybe it is. But yeah, rocket science is part of STEM. So if somebody says that, oh, this is too far away from where we are or what our kids are doing, I don't believe in that. I came from a school like this where teachers, we would have to sit on the floor to take our lessons. We would have to sit out in the open, in cold, on the floor to take our exams because classrooms are too cramped. So they had to make you sit out in the open so you could sit away from each other. But there are certain things, certain ingredients that can take you from where you are to a graduate of places like many top universities. So there is a common ingredient to all of them. Good universities, good schools would make that happen, would help us go from our classroom, schools, our colleges to top universities. I just put some logos of some top universities at this slide from all over the world, not just USA, UK, Europe. Even Saudi Arabia has a good school, KAUST, which is doing fantastic work. But how do we know? What are the STEM careers? What are the STEM areas? And if I know careers, then what do I do in school? What do I do in university to get into that career? So that's what we are going to talk about. And if we identify a major, then how do I fund my education, or how do I work at the cutting edge, get involved into research? And if I can identify a research program, how do I get into that research program? So this is something what is where we have to look at the steps. I base many of these things on people who have many intelligent people who have come together and identified some of the areas that will have major impact in next 10, 20 years. So there is an organization called National Academy of Engineers that came up with 14 grand challenges for engineering. And very interestingly, many of those things have already happened, or many of those grand challenges or our efforts to work on those grand challenges have opened many new areas of work or research or products that we have today. This is a picture of showing those 14 grand challenges. I'll not go through all of them, but I'll talk about many of them today, especially that I have worked in, or I know some people who have worked in. Solar energy. If you think about it, we talk about or we hear about solar energy a lot. But do you believe that today it's only less than 1% of world's total energy that's based off solar? This is an area which has already seen lots of work, and there's much more work is going to happen. It's not just in how do you make solar cells, but how you make them efficient, how you maybe capture each and every photon that's up in the air, capture it and convert the whole energy of that photon into electrical energy. How do you store that energy? How do you take that energy stored at some source, like in solar cell banks or the fields, to homes without losing any energy? Once you get to the homes, how do you balance that energy that all homes get energy that they need when they need it? And if they don't need it, we balance the load and send it somewhere else. That's one area that's going to see amazing growth. Not just solar energy, how do we power our vehicles? Many countries, they have already put very ambitious plans to get rid of all the cars that use gas or petrol, as they say in UK. I heard the British Prime Minister has mandated that by 2030, they would not allow any petrol or gas cars, right, Dr. Ali? Which means we have to come up with not just solar energy, but many, many different ways of how do you provide that electrical energy at places where you can just stop and get your car charged. Virtual reality. Nowadays, we have video games. We are using augmented reality or virtual reality where we can put some goggles on and we can do stuff in virtual world, in a world that doesn't really exist, but we can see that. It has applications in so many areas, like training medical professionals, patients, treating patients. If you cannot be close to that doctor, you can still, right now what we are doing is talking to the patient, but systems that can actually get you the clinical information from a patient. Education, entertainment, real estate. Nowadays, you don't have to go to a house to see how does it look like from inside, outside. They can have virtual tours for people. Yeah, this PS5, nowadays kids are running to get the PS5, but they're not getting. So somebody, I liked it. Somebody made a coffee machine picture out of it from that interesting design. So PS5 is coming with its own VR thing that we can put, and you can play video game like you are right in part of it. This is just the start of this area, the start of this career, the start of this. There are so many things that have to happen. For example, for flight people who fly or who work in airline industry, battlefield, for soldiers, for medical training, for driving a car, for putting people into exercises. For medical, there's a range of things that are already happening and which will be happening much more. Microsurgery. You people who work in, say, brain, they have to work with very small places, or those who do the transplant. So very small veins need to be stitched. They have to look through microscope while they do those things. How do they get trained? So there are virtual reality systems, which is the area that's still growing. Much growth in that. Another grand challenge, how do we reverse engineer the brain? But before you reverse engineer, we have to interface with the brain. How do we understand or learn how brain works? How does this intelligence, this computation that happen, how do we simulate that? We need devices and systems to connect to those neurons or parts of the brain. Huge area of brain-machine interface, huge area of cognitive science, where we still are far away from the computation power of brain in machines. So, but the problem lies not just in understanding how do we gather that data, and if you gather that data, what do we do with that data? We'll talk about the data also in an upcoming slide. Engineering better medicine. I say engineering the whole healthcare. How do we create a treatment for each individual patient? Nowadays in COVID-19 day, we see that already that different people who got infected get different problems. Some have respiratory, some have heart problems, some have diarrhea problem. So each person is responding different to that infection because of their underlying problems that the body cannot fight off now. This is just the start of what we call as personalized healthcare or nanomedicine. If you recall this year, the two ladies who got Nobel Prize for a technology they developed called CRISPR. So essentially we can pick or put specific genes into a person's DNA. This is just the start of that work where we can treat diseases by knowing which genes are involved and replacing, removing, silencing, editing those genes. But what are the opportunities? We can make specialized drugs for people who have specific genetic makeup. We can design specific treatments for people who come from different ethnic backgrounds, because we know that certain ethnicities may have different propensity for diseases. There are so many directions to that. good or bad. I just put the designer babies also, because there's one exercise we do when we are talking about ethics in our STEM classes, that yeah, we have all the good things that can happen, that may happen, but there are certain ethical questions also that come with these technologies. So that's another emerging area, STEM ethics or STEM policy, because we are getting into these areas where things are growing and growing. How would we regulate those areas? Another area is advanced healthcare informatics. Okay, to very upfront and straightforward things. Okay, how do you manage beds? You get bunch of patients, and now we are seeing tri-edge that we have more people, more patients than the system can accommodate. Can computation or informatics help us make those decisions based on maybe person's background, history, the diseases, the profile, genetic makeup? What have been their previous problems, patient tracking? Who are the providers or doctors or nurses that have came in contact with them or have? This is a huge area of growth. And then, of course, when you have the data, a patient is not just in one dimension. A patient has, you have their blood work, maybe urine work, their ECG, their MRI, their PET scan. There's a whole bunch of so many dimensions to an individual. Can a practitioner, by few clicks, look at an overall picture, and can system help that person make that decision? Now, we talk about informatics, big data analytics. It's all around us, whether we are using mobile devices, cell phones, whether we are interacting on social media, whether we are dealing with a business or we want to open a business, whether we want to keep ourselves secure in the digital world. There is big data analytics. So we say, okay, big data, what does it mean? There are data around us everywhere. I walk, I drive, and my cell phone is gathering my behavior, how fast I drive, how slow I drive, how fast I brake. Do I stop for a restaurant, particular restaurant? Data-driven decisions will be in everything. So this is a small picture. We will be doing everything based on data, whether we do research, discovery, marketing, what kind of media was movie, music, video games. How do we decide on one thing over the other, not just in medical, in commercial, in wealth management, in my everyday scheduling? How we do programming now together. Programs can create further programs depending on what are the needs of people. Animations, storytelling. So put data-driven with every word and you have a field that's emerging. Data-driven learning, data-driven navigation. If some of you use Waze, there are bigger and better things coming on top of Waze. Medicine, data-driven farming, data-driven resource allocation, whether that's money, whether that's your computing system, whether that's how I manage my pantry, food. Data-driven parenting, data-driven fashion, data-driven prices, the list goes on. And we are seeing the growth of areas, not just in the how we can put things easily accessible in cloud computing. Like I am traveling in a desert and I can have access to all my data on my cell phone, which I can have access to sitting in my office here in Dallas as well. How do we look at that data and make decision, visualization, simulation? How do I take that data and project how things may change going forward? We need to make analysis and analytical decisions off of that. And this is not a small area. This market is growing by billions and billions in next 20 years. It's going to keep on increasing. Now, this is something which encompasses many other areas that we are talking about. Urban planning, cities are growing at much faster speed. People are commuting, people are traveling, big buildings, huge footprint in very small space, because we used to live in countryside much more, but now we are living in cities much more. So we are concentrated in small spaces. So we need to modernize our urban structure for centuries to come. That's another huge area. We talk about managing the nitrogen cycle. We have nitrogen in air. The most of the gas in atmosphere is nitrogen. How can we use it to make better agriculture? How can we use that nitrogen to help us be better in so many things, to get our fertilizers enriched organically without having to produce any chemicals? There are areas of which impact everyone. For example, carbon sequestration. How do we prevent global warming or stop the rapid climate change? This is another area of emerging research where there is so much work happening all across the board. We want to find new tools of scientific discovery, whether that's human-centered, whether that's animal that we grow to for a feed, whether these are crops, whether that's how we live, our housing. There are so many questions that are still unanswered, which require new tools to develop, not the products, the tools to make those products. And it's interesting that there are all these STEM emerging areas, but we don't know how to do those. How do we get into those areas? Now, this is a very important thing that we have to know, that when I define a career goal or I want to do something, how do I get there? Is my major going to define that? Like, what do I study to get there? Is I'm just being awesome going to help me? Is me having more likes is going to help me? The answer is slightly different. We have to take a step back. There are many different majors who may serve one area of STEM. There are many different majors that can serve one area of STEM. And if you decide to get into a major, remember, you can serve many areas of STEM. So I'm making this connection. Many areas of your study can serve one area of STEM. One area that you want to study can have applications in many areas of STEM. For example, for engineering, I got this from a book that I've been teaching for many years. If you think about careers like energy industry, machines, manufacturing, material structures, technical sales, you're not confined to one discipline in engineering or science. There are multiple disciplines that can serve those. You can be in aerospace and serving materials. You can be in civil doing something about materials. There are lots of overlap. If you can take a screenshot of this is a very interesting slide. And there are many, many versions of this available at many different places. But the end idea is that we cannot confine us to a major if you want to work in one career field. But how do we define what we want to do? It's our choice whether I want to go and stay into traditional areas that have been known, people have been doing in the work in those areas, or do I want to get into emerging fields? Because that will define if I want to get into more research during my studies, or should I just take courses and go through? There are different ways how we get that. A lot of coursework also requires students to go out of their comfort zone and look at the emerging areas. Khan Academy has a very interesting website where they share lots of careers and how do you get into those careers, and they have some case studies also from different people who are doing well, maybe in nursing, maybe as a pilot, maybe as an the technician, engineer, scientist. But if you look at the trend, the two top careers for next decade are tech and medical. Technical and medical. Now in technical, we can go into engineering side, science side, and there is whether we go in building things or fixing things. There's a whole bunch of things that come into that. And by the way, your likes don't count towards that. Yeah, I mean, many of us, especially the youngster generation, for them the measurement of success is how many likes we get. It's just a meme. But the real value of that higher education is to prepare you for the unknown, for the possibilities that do not yet exist. We know the general direction of things, but there are so many things that we still don't know how will they come about. What other things help us make a decision to go into these directions? How do I fund my education? There are certain areas which have more funding traditionally than other areas. Science and engineering have got more funding in research grants, more funding by colleges and universities, because they bring more research dollars for the institutions. And they have more opportunities for students like you as well. There are grants. And then at some universities, some places, there are institutions which focus on some areas of things that they do. So those are what I call special interest groups. So you may find a nanotech center in some universities. Purdue has it, UT has it, UT Dallas has it, Oxford has it, but you may not have nanotech center in many other universities because it requires them to have a clean room. They have to have special infrastructure. So you have to look for those as well, that which institution has what kind of education, because you have more chances of getting funded from there. For undergrads, there are many RUs, research experience for undergrad grants, RU grants. So they come from, again, from science agencies like NSF, National Institutes of Health. So they pay professors to hire and get undergrads involved in their research. That's what you have to find out. If a professor has a grant from NSF or NIH for USA, for UK, there is Erasmus program, and they have Erasmus Plus UK program also, which funds many students. They even fund students from developing countries to come and work in UK, and they pay for that. They give you, even they pay you from door to door. You start from your door, they will pay you for the travel, even to get to your airport. They'll give you the taxi money, cab money there. When you get there, you get reimbursed for that money. And these programs help fund your education. They can help you through your studies, give you experience of research where you can get your education with original research. And you can even publish a paper working in a real lab where they work on this next generation STEM areas. You can get your name on the paper. I had two medical pre-med students who worked in my lab, and when they were looking, they did their medical, and when they were looking for match with a hospital for fellowship, for residency, their publication helped them. They gave them an advantage to get into the match. The US medical people know what's that step. But this is the time we get involved into this. So this is my students from my lab who have been, we have been doing summer camps, and so these students get involved and ultimately get a taste of working in those labs, get involved into competitions. There are, apart from pure research competition, there are competitions to do maybe business plan. There are competitions to create a prototype. There are competitions to create an elevator pitch on a product. So professors, they have lots of ideas in their lab, and students, high school, undergrad students can work on taking that idea and thinking about how they can be translated into a real world product. Think about it, the professors are not focusing on, but you can take that work and do that spin-off. And they would be happy if you do that. They'll pay you to do that. Just some examples, these red colored names are some students, undergrad students and high school students who have worked with me, and they have published these papers. These are citations for those conference papers. Now, when you get involved into this undergrad research, what do you get out of it? Apart from getting your name on the paper, you get many bunch of skills, right? Communication, doing scientific methods, working under pressure, deadlines, all the real world skills, all the real world hard skills that you get. You get a reference. On top of all, you get recognition, because wherever you go, that experience will show your future professor, future hiring manager that you can go outside of your comfort zone and you can deliver. And you have the capability of leadership that you can tackle unknown challenges. But how do you access those professors? Professors are supposed to be big people, right? Big ego. They are living in their shell, and they are, no, all professors, they build their career on students. They need students like you who are ready to work on interesting problems. So you'll be amazed if you access, or professionally, very nice way, if you ask a professor for opportunities, they will respond. So email, call, nowadays we cannot go knock on the door, but this is something which works when you find a way to connect to a professor, and they would always be happy to help you because they need you. They need students like you. How do I know which professor to work with? Look at universities, look at departments, look at things that you like to do. And don't confine the thing that you like to do into a certain department. Remember, like I said before, the STEM areas, not one major or one department serves those STEM areas. There are multiple places that may be doing that kind of work. So look for scientific questions and look at different labs in different departments, and then look at their problems and maybe talk. If many professors have the list of their current students, email them, contact them. They also will be happy to respond to you and tell you what they're doing. Generally, people like to brag about what they do. People like to brag about themselves. They will be happy to help you out and tell you what they do. So again, don't look at the department or discipline, look at the scientific question, look at the STEM question that they are solving. It may not be in your major, but go and talk to them. Now, for high school students, for undergrads, again, if you are working in certain direction and you feel that you want to, this is more aligned to engineering, trust me, look at science people, look at social science people. You'll be amazed that many people may be doing different things which direct to the same scientific problem. And remember, when you get there, they will be looking for people from diverse background, because many labs are not focused on one thing. They are very interdisciplinary. But you have to be ready that this is not something where they will give you certain rules, certain steps to do a lab experiment, but you'll be working with people to define new experiments yourself. And that's the interesting part to it. Now, where are some of the programs? Go to any university website and you just look for STEM outreach. You will see they'll have lots of programs. Or if you look, there are certain people who focus on that, like their vice president's office of research or research office. I'm giving here some links. If you follow these, you will be able to go. These are from certain lists that are out there from some universities. So tinyurl.com/STEM matters -research, research 1, research 2, research 3, 4 pages. Go look up. You'll see many different opportunities which are listed from universities for their summer research programs. And then there are some regional organizations who also run some competitions and some programs. In these days, we are for domestic students, if you're already in USA, there is a high chance that you can get very easily into a lab, because we generally, international students used to fill up lots of those positions, but they're not coming. The embassies are closed, visa processing is slow. So but you can see that there's a lot of remote work already going on. So many professors will be happy to take you in to get some work started. And that will level many playing fields as well, because those developing world students are also now having the same access to those professors like you, because they are delivering material online. So this is bringing up new opportunities for domestic students and for international students as well. What do we do if you get your PhD? What do you do? We're just gonna be being a professor? No, you'll be amazed how many different areas take in PhDs from so many different areas. Wall Street, half of those management consulting companies, all of those management consulting companies staff, half of them are PhDs from various backgrounds. Half of them are MBAs. What does it mean? It means when you do good work in any STEM related area, you develop critical thinking skills. You develop skills to play with data and to get some answers. We are as much required in these areas of financial sector, for example, for high tech, for now talking about biotech, to create new vaccines, to create new delivery approaches, to create new freezing methods. For example, now we're talking about -20 and -80 degrees centigrade. These are engineering problems. These scientists are solving those problems. I'll take a step back here, stop, and let me open this for questions. So there are multiple ways how you can ask questions. You can write down in the chat, you can speak up, you can post it on Facebook, and we'll be happy to answer. If you have not noticed, this is the email address where we are accessible, info@stemmatters.org, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Samir, there is one comment in the chat room from Iman Mukhtar. Will you be emailing this presentation? It is excellent.
Sure. So this presentation, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel. If you can look up, let me share the link for our YouTube channel. And the reason is that there are some of the material is copyrighted, which I've used it for under Commons, that I can use it for non-commercial purposes. But you can look up at our YouTube channel. This video will be posted there. And again, please subscribe to that channel, because more information in future will be being posted in that link.
Thank you. Very nice presentation.
Thank you. Again, see, what do you recommend for high school juniors in terms of research? For high school kids, very important that they get engaged in projects, make projects. Like STEM Matters program, we do that. We get them involved into projects, solving some real world problems where it may be medical related, it may be environment related, it may be urban planning, cities, issues in cities. So those projects, they do few things. Number one, they give them a flavor of teamwork. They give them, how do you break down a problem into small steps, and how do you solve those problems? Number three, it gives them access to some role models, some mentors who can, like for me, I can count bunch of mentors that inspired me to come to be where I am. And I feel this is and Dr. Nasser Ali, Dr. Afan, but Mr. Shakil Ahmed, Mr. Shakil Muhammad, we are doing exactly so we can be mentors for these kids. So they have these role models that they can see. We know many more accomplished people further, like we bring some good speakers, outstanding speakers to these programs. They can connect to those folks who have done good work, and they can build some basics in emerging STEM areas. So these are few starting points for juniors, high school juniors, to get involved into research. How do we do this in days of COVID? I can assure you, we think that COVID or going online has slowed us down. It has not slowed the kids down. Our kids were already doing most of their things online or through their fingers, using social media, using apps. They are much more adept to do those projects online. For example, right now we have 2-3 projects going on where kids are collaborating online. They have built fantastic solutions to problems. They have simulated solutions. They are creating graphics of their ideas. And now to make that, there are 3D printers which can help us prototype those. So putting the printer together and having those kids work on this programming, that design of that prototype, we can get the product made remotely. They don't even have to be in that place. There are kits that they can work in their own place and collaborate on what is the progress on their project. And I can share you, if you sign up for the upcoming program, this is the link that I'm sharing right now. We can talk more about the new program that we are rolling out for having the kids come together and do innovation to work on those projects. And we'll be happy to discuss more, but share this link with your friends and your colleagues as well. Question? So you can join the STEM Matters group using this WhatsApp link as well. So we have a WhatsApp group as well going on. The most important thing is to have inspiration for our kids from looking at people that have done great work. I can tell you, for all of us who are involved here, Msit, STEM Matters, Young Professional Society, we all have some great mentors who have helped us, some people who have inspired us. And we want to share that inspiration and be a connection to let the youngsters look at that as well. And the simple reason is, we or our parents came to this country, to the Western countries, and we have done lots of, we faced resistance, but we have come through and got good degrees or got good living. But the next generation has to innovate. That's one of the challenge, that to be successful in this century, we have to innovate. We have to stay on top of new emerging areas. Yes, doing regular work is fine, having a shop or all those things are amazing. They're important part of the society. But when you talk about competing and we talk about the next level, this is where we believe that STEM areas hold the most promise for our kids. And this is why we want the parents to get engaged and get their kids to be involved. All right, so please fill out a survey. We have a short survey as well for feedback to hear how did it go, to hear what may be some new areas or some other kind of talks would you like to hear. We are successful only if we know that parents and students are getting benefit from that. And this is where we request you to fill out a survey for us that can help us design our program going forward. All right, so the Shakil.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, thank you very much, all. Greatly appreciate your attendance today. As Dr. Iqbal said, we want to get your inputs, your feedback. This survey will greatly help us to understand how we can align our webinars, our talks to the demands and the needs and the asks from the audience. So we will be very much appreciative of your maybe a minute or so to get onto that URL and provide us your feedback. And as Dr. Iqbal said, we have a game plan for for our young kids. Our spring 2021 cohort will be starting in the second week of January. You will be able to see more information about the 2021 spring cohort or session on our website, stemmatters.org, next week. We are almost at a phase to finalize our game plan, the curriculum, and all that for the next cohort. So please contact us, info@stemmatters.org, if you have more questions about our services. And our mission, as I said at the very beginning, is to ensure that our kids not only participate in STEM activities, but also excel with flying colors. So that's the kind of vision we have. That's the kind of mission we have for our Muslim young kids. So we have to work together. As they say, it takes a village to raise the child. We all, educationalists, activists, parents, everybody has to work together to make sure that our dreams come true. So with that, Brother Afan, you want to close it, please?
Yeah. So again, thank you, Dr. Samir and Brother Shakil also from STEM Matters. And thanks to all the participants who attended this webinar. Hopefully, you got many opportunities for STEM careers. It will motivate you, inshallah, encourage you to go for STEM career. That's what Brother Samir wants. No? So it's like this webinar, free webinar, is just to encourage this. It's not like for our any personal interest. We just want to make sure that science, engineering, and technology, all these things, they have a role in our career. And he already talked about so many other benefits, the worldly benefits of those careers in STEM field, and he gave you different types of opportunities. So with your feedback, inshallah, he will try to improve more and try to come back again with more strength in next year, inshallah. So jazakumullah khair for participating, and thanks for joining this webinar. Again, for Msit, if you want to join, just please join msitweb.net. That's the website. Go there and fill out application. If you are ISNA member, then you can just click on a double membership, so you can get free membership of Msit. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you. So maybe Brother Nasar Ali wants to say something from UK, or do you want to ask Brother Samir or Shakil? Do you want to ask him to say something on young professional or what?
I think it's okay. We can wrap up now. It's just
yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, all. Have a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakumullah. Thank you.